And you are up.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Daly. I'm the Director of Public Works and Natural Resources for the town of Orleans. Welcome to our little meeting tonight. With us tonight as our panelist is Nate Sears, who is our Natural Resources Manager. And I have Dan Boulay and I have Timothy Grace, who work for, is that Ty and Bond? Yeah, Ty and Bond, who are our designers. I don't want to say another firm, who are designers on this project. We're here tonight to talk about a potential parking lot that the town may construct at some point in time at 223 Beach Road, which is the old Eubler Motel site. So I will remind everyone, if you're attending this right now, if you have any, I'm going to ask you, let me get through the presentation, and then later we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. And at that point, if you want to ask a question, just use the raise hand feature, which I believe is down the bottom, right? Where is that? Or the chat feature, actually. Is that correct, Mia?
No, we want to use the raise hand feature, which should
Yeah.
be right at the bottom of your screen. If you have any trouble finding it, use the chat box.
Okay, thank you, Mia. So, okay, with that being said, I'm going to begin this, and I'm going to share the screen. And let me hit that and get it going. Yep. Come on, she's not starting. Here we go. You guys see that all right? We're good, right, Dan? Nate?
Yep, we're good.
Okay,
We can see
good.
that.
Thank you. All right. So anyway, as I was saying, we're here tonight to talk about potential parking lot that the town may construct at 223 Beach Road. Thank you for being here this evening. I do want to give you a little spot of history on how we got here today. Back, I mean, this has been, that picture I showed on the first screen goes back decades. And, the town has been talking about, the beach erosion and the beach retreat at Nauset Beach for a number of years now. And back in 2015, we hired Woods Hole Group to do a study and analysis on what was going on with the beach historically. And at that time, you can see from the graphic, we had 80 feet from Liam's to the toe of the dune. And that was in March of 2015. So, and the study showed us a few things. For example, on this slide, it'll show you that since 1868, the beach has moved westward 700 feet. And the other interesting thing that I thought was interesting that came out of the study was that prior to 1994, the beach was eroding or moving westward, whatever you want to call it, 2.2 feet per year prior to 1994. But after 1994, up to 2015, it was eroding, moving back 12 feet per year. And after the March storms of 18, that number averaged more out now to 15 feet per year. So for some reason, there was a drastic uptick in erosion or movement since 1994. So what they also did for us is they kind of, based upon 2015, they kind of projected out, toe of slope. So if you look, I think you can, hold on a second, get my mouse. You should be able to see my mouse, I hope. They predicted, if this was 2015, they predicted, okay, in 20 we'd be here, in 2025, this would be the toe of dune, and then 2035. So a couple of things to note. One, we're already, we've already gotten into this area. So we're ahead of schedule on the erosion because of the 2018 storms. But as you can see, as the parking lot erodes and moves back over time, basically it's kind of, if there's a do nothing approach. Either way, it is Mother Nature, and eventually it will move back, and it will move back beyond this to the point, at some point in time, the Nauset Beach parking lot as we know it will no longer exist. And that's what we're planning for. That's what this is about. We're planning for the future. So again, also at the time, we started doing a phased adaptation, and we started looking at options. Like, what do we do? Do we build the dune, which we ultimately did do, remove a first row of parking and restabilize and support the dune. That was the project we did a couple of years ago. And at the same time, we started talking about the development of the Eubler parking lot, up around the motel area, as shown here in light green, and also talked about, bringing an entrance, a small roadway down to the beach this way from the upper parking lot. So we had many options we talked about at that time. And then in January of 18, we had the first, whatever, if you want, significant storm that affected the beach that year. And if my memory serves, that particular storm, we lost about 25 feet or so of dune. And then we had the March of 18 storms, 2 storms in March of 18, which eroded back about, we'll just say, another 55 feet, give or take. So we lost about 80 feet. This is the back of Liam's after that storm, and ultimately the reason why we had to remove it. And also, you can see the old gazebo and the erosion. Again, you know, we lost about 75, 80 feet that year. It was crazy in a matter of a few months, and that's what we were left with. And that septic system goes back years prior. So anyway, so we immediately, you know, like within a couple of weeks, we were in front of the Board of Selectmen with Woods Hole Group going over short and long-term goals. You know, first of all, how to survive the summer of 2018 and what we needed to do to get there. And then long-term, like, you know, what do we do? Do we move the administration building down below in the restrooms? Do we build them up top, you know, at 223 Beach Road? You know, when do we build a new parking lot up at 223 Beach Road? So all these conversations, you know, really got significant and hot and heavy in 2018. And we moved forward very quickly. We had to, you know, the storms were in March. We had to be ready to go by Memorial Day, have the beach operations up and running. And we didn't even have a restaurant, you know, so the staff worked really hard to, and I give Nate Sears a lot of credit for working really hard in organizing the rest of the department to get the beach up and running, and as Nate puts it, to make it a place to visit, to still make it a place where people want to come and enjoy Nauset Beach in Orleans. So again, you know, staff worked really hard, all aspects of it, to get to this point that year. Even with beach trucks, we actually pulled it off within a few months, having food vendors. So anyway, back in July of 2018, we went to the select board, and we were talking with them. Again, we're presenting lots of options with them, and, you know, a lot of conversations about what to do with the bathrooms in the admin building. Do we take it down now? Do we, you know, move it up top, you know, in the motel parking lot area? What do we do with it? And again, here's like one option that talked about, you can see, you know, potentially, you know, the picnic area that we ultimately did build, and maybe we do temporary buildings, you know, like modular buildings that we can actually pick up and move at a later date when we further retreat in future years. And then this was presented then, you know, of a future parking lot up top at the motel. Here's the actual motel building. And you can see, if I click it, if you watch the motel, maybe eventually when the motel comes down, the 3 modular buildings from down below move up top. You know, again, I think we had to look at a dozen options a couple of times at the select board in the summer of 2018, looking at all this. And ultimately, you know, what they settled on was funding enough money to remove the admin building if needed and operate the beach for the time with porta johns and, you know, located in multiple areas, plus sheds to house first aid, administration, changing stations, portable sinks, and also areas for the food trucks in this area here, and build the dune. And this particular cost for this project, again, they decided this, I think, you know, it could have been August of 18, don't quote me, but the cost for that project to do all that, particularly to build the dune was about, just say 700,000, was $1.2 million. So we immediately got out to bid in October of 2018, out to bid to do the dune work. And we actually funded the money to do that work, the 1.2 million, at the October 2018 special town meeting. We began construction in November 26th of 18. You see the plantings, and the dune was completed and planted in March 29th of 19. And then, you know, we had to hit it hard again to be ready for Memorial Day, bringing the changing stations, setting poles. There was a lot of underground utility work, and we were ready and up and running for Memorial Day again. It was a big push. And one caveat on the whole operations plan was, the existing beach administration building. We decided to leave the building. So we built the dune around the building itself, and that's where it is today until such time that we need to take it down, that Mother Nature decides for us that we need to take it down and then fill in the dune there. But that's going to leave us, for the time being, that's just going to leave us with porta johns and changing stations for the public. The admin building is primarily there. We like it there because it's additional restrooms. So more recently, bringing you up to date, we've run in that scenario for the last couple of years, but this year there was an opportunity for a grant, and it was a 75% grant, and we got $79,000 to design this parking lot, as you see up top at the 223 Beach Road. And actually, let me back up again and show you that again. You can see where the existing motel is, and in the future, there is conversation of moving the lifeguard housing. It is an older building, but eventually that building would go away and we just have additional parking spaces. So the schedule on this, so right now, excuse me, right now, Ty and Bond, their schedule is to have the 60% design by January 22nd, a couple of weeks ago, which they did do. And we are here tonight having a public outreach stakeholder meeting. We want to hear your input. And we are required, this is all required by the grant, we have to have our 100% plan specs and cost estimates together for March 12th. We have to be out to bid by March 18th. So you can see there's a very aggressive schedule. Bids are due April 6th. And we're looking at appropriating the funding for the project at the annual town meeting in May. So this would be the funding to build the parking lot and build Eublo Lane, the road down to the actual existing beach parking lot. And the current estimate for all that work is $4 million. And the next grant round, we would apply for a grant that we could get hopefully something, but anywhere from $1 to $2 million to assist with the funding. And we would apply for that again in June of 21. So that's our schedule. It is an aggressive schedule. The project itself has been on the CIP, the capital improvement plan that has been approved annually at the annual town meetings over the last few years. So this project isn't a surprise. We've had it on the CIP for quite some time, and at the $4 million figure. That number will get scrubbed out a bit as Ty and Bond goes through the design process. So here's the current concept. You can see as part of this construction, so here's the entrance coming in off of Beach Road, which is basically where the current entrance is now. The motel is currently right here, the motel building, and we're looking at, again, building parking, as much as we can on the property. There's a good side slope here that it's just not cost effective to go any farther. We are building a future septic system now as part of this project. We don't know exactly what the future will bring. We have an area here set aside, one here for potential new restrooms in the future, admin building in the future, a location here for a future store. We'd move the store up top. It could be a restaurant, in this mix, so basically moving the buildings up in the future. Again, this project is a parking lot project. We are not building buildings now. We're just reserving a location for them in the future. And we're putting the septic system in the infrastructure, the water service, the infrastructure in place now, so that we don't have to dig up the parking lot in the future, except in this one isolated area when the time comes. And then this here is stormwater control. All the road runoff, parking lot runoff will be infiltrated on the ground into this area. And so, as I said, we are looking for public input. That's what I have at this point. For now, I can go back to the plans. I'm going to stop the share for the moment. And I guess at this point, unless some of the panelists would like to add anything else, we can open up to some public comment. Panelists, good?
Nope, Tom, I think you covered it well.
Okay. Nate, good. I think we're good. All right. Mia, why don't you start letting some people in? Just start with the top of who raised first. I think Pamela Hare asked to raise their hand first.
Okay.
Hi, Ms. Hare. You have to unmute.
Mute. There, is that better?
Hi. Much better.
My property directly abuts Hubler's. Literally, I'm 219 Beach Road next door. I see, and there, I don't have the, obviously I don't have the slide in front of me, but my property has like these big V's alongside Hubler. And there is one V that it seems like the development leaves that V empty. That runs, it literally
Ah.
runs behind my house. And
Okay, I am going to pull up a plan for 1 second, okay, so we can see it, what you're talking about. And we can, I'd like to know exactly what you're talking about. So I'm going to share my
Right.
screen again. Okay, everyone see my screen?
yes, you see
Okay,
where the
good.
dark line is, where the lot ends?
What's
And
your
the-
address? Is this you here?
Yes,
Okay, all right. So you're talking this property
Right.
line right there. Okay.
right. So as it looks on this, it looks like there's not going to be anything there. But I remember at some point, there was a plan where there was going to be like an electric station or some kind of thing there, which would be directly behind my house.
Are you talking this area?
Yes.
Okay, so this area here, I'll
And
be
I
honest
just
with
want to be sure that that's not being reserved for some kind of utility insertion.
I believe I can answer that, and Dan and Tim jump in if you feel like it. If you look at this plan, this where my arrow is a retaining wall, and the reason why that retaining wall is there.
Yes.
Oh, is that your phone?
Yeah, but it's okay. I'll let it go to the machine.
Okay, so if you look at this for a minute, where that wall is, that's there because there's a steep slope right there. That's quite a hill right there.
Right.
And because of the hill, it makes it very difficult, not actually worth developing it as parking lot. So that's not being reserved for any other reason that we just can't put, because of the hill, we can't put parking spaces there.
So that, okay, so you know, that's that's my concern.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah, there's nothing there, nothing proposed to be there.
okay. So
Okay.
the tree line, would remain the same. That would not be changed.
There might be a slight little change in this area, but not much, and it's all on town property. You know,
Right.
what's shown on the plan is probably pretty true to how it'll stay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mia, you want to bring in the next person? Mia, did you catch that?
Yep, they're coming in. You might
Okay.
want to stop screen sharing just so you can see the new people.
Yeah, that's good. All right. I can't read your first last name, but I see Andrew. Andrew, you want to unmute? Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Catano.
Hi.
Can you guys
Hi.
hear us?
Yeah, we got you. We can hear you and see you.
Good.
What can we do for you tonight?
Good evening. Thanks so much. Yeah, first of all, I want to commend you on the restoration of the dunes and the parking lot over the last 2 years
Thank
after
you.
those storms in record time. Just amazing work. So with respect to the proposed parking at 233, I guess the first question I had was the before and after number of parking spaces with the motel demolished. What is the count now at the existing parking lot, and what will the count be, let's say, once the motel is demolished up top?
So I was going to add that up today, but I didn't have time. Dan, do you have any idea where we are in number of spaces?
So I don't know where we're at existing down below, only because I'm not sure what the configuration was.
Hold on, Dan. Were you talking about up top or down below, Mr. Catano?
Well, I'm curious what the number is below today as it stands, and then what the proposed total would be for the new parking lot once the motel is demolished and spaces are put there.
Okay, so I might have Nate chime in a little bit. Do you want to hit that, Nate, or do you want me to try?
Yeah, sure. I'll do the best I can. Proper delineated parking spots down below, I believe, is somewhere around 265. If we fill every nook and cranny, I think we could probably push 300 down below. Does
Sure,
sound
it might not be
accurate?
higher. We lost, I do know we lost 250 spaces when we built the dune.
Right.
Okay. So even in this parking lot is probably a little less than that, this upper parking lot.
Okay, so it's
If
pretty
I-
close. It's
if-
it's almost, it's almost a net, it's almost a wash. It may be a few less parking spaces, I guess. So what happens with us, and it happens regardless of this year was unique with COVID and having to limit the number of cars or people down at Nauset. So quite frequently, whether it was this year with COVID or in prior years, when you had a great beach day, a weekend in particular, Saturday, Sunday, the queue line, obviously getting into the beach through the gate, it backs way up Beach Road, and it goes beyond our driveway entrance, and during peak times it can get pretty far back up Beach Road.
Right.
And
We're very aware.
yeah, no, and what happened this year quite often was when people, even though there are signs that alert people that Nauset Beach is full, they still come down.
Right.
And
Turn around.
and if they see the police officer or whoever from resources is directing people to make a U-turn and go back up Beach Road, come back in 2 hours, many times they'll see that happening up ahead, and they'll pull K-turns right into our driveway. A lot of times they're not in a good mood because they can't get to the beach.
Right,
So
right.
we saw that happen, pretty much every good weekend this summer. There were just people pulling in, pulling out. And I didn't, I'm not the type of person to put a chain or a rope up, or, I didn't put cones out there, but I was just trying to anticipate, down the road a little bit, once this parking lot is constructed and, we have it looks like you have 4, I'm going to call them toll booths or gates where, there will be 4 people accepting, payment. That'll probably move pretty quick, I would think.
If I may
eliminate-
just jump in on that a little bit. So yeah,
Sure.
we're very, very aware of, the issues down at Nauset Beach with with the backing up on a good day. And it's one of those things we're very, we're concerned about for the neighborhood and the impacts on the neighborhood, quite honestly, right? So I'm going to share the screen again, if you guys don't mind, because I want to show you something. All right, we back up. So you can see, yes, there's 4 lanes, okay? But so in our planning that we started talking about a number of years ago, these aren't just to take cash. So we've got a lane here that we're actually talking about doing license plate recognition. So like other towns are doing that in their transfer stations and things like that. And it actually works great. So that if you buy your sticker, by right, you don't even need a sticker. You buy your sticker, we put the plate number in, and people cruise right through, in this lane right here. The next lane would be for the cash customers, okay? And then the next 2 lanes would be credit, debit, or whatever, So we're giving people options, and we think that would hopefully significantly improve the delay getting in. So this is, and one of the other things we're also talking about doing, and it's kind of future planning. If you look over here, this is where we're talking about building the road down to the beach, the new road down to the beach, which is Eubler Lane. We're talking about this becoming the new entrance to the beach in the future. But this will be the new entrance down to the beach, and then Beach Road the current entrance would be the exit to the beach. So a nice loop right around, so we're trying to just gain efficiency in the traffic flow out there.
So Tom, explain that to me again. You're gonna bring the exit all the way down,
All the way down,
and
all the
then
way down where my arrow is, all the way right down to the back side of the parking lot.
I got you. And then they would come up Beach Road pretty much the
Right.
way you would leave the beach today,
Yes,
I guess.
future plan, yes.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
Well, hopefully it works. But again, this configuration we're hoping is going to increase speed of people going in and reduce traffic congestion on Beach Road. That's our plan.
Yeah, I think that was really, I understand what's going on. I can see it every day today, especially just going down there. No question, it's only a matter of time. So I don't know, I guess maybe with the only other thing I would comment on tonight is some type, I know the signs are up, when you get into town, I can't remember where the first one is, at the Methodist Church, maybe,
Yeah.
where it'll say, is that the Methodist Church
Yeah.
or Presbyterian? Anyway,
Yeah, meeting house.
yeah, it'll say, beach closed, and I don't know. I don't know if you can really, what more you can do
To discourage them from
discourage
coming
people to
down
come
when it's
down.
already
If
closed.
the beach is full, don't waste your time coming down, because you're just going to turn around,
And we try to be accurate about it, meaning we put it up when it is closed. We don't
Yeah.
try to, we try to be real about it. When the beach is closed and we put it up, so that all of a sudden people don't go down and it's open, then they won't believe it's really closed. So we try
Right.
to manage it correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the situation where people get desperate and they pull into our parking or to our driveway and ask to pay to park in our driveway, which is kind of scary.
Might have to compete with the town.
And, we've got grandkids running around and so we're not used to people just pulling into the driveway, which we found aggressive people,
Yeah.
So we're trying to, be proactive and avoid that.
Anyway, any other particular comments on the design? And honestly, you can always reach out to us if anything else comes up, through our website and our email, you can get us.
Sure, we appreciate
Thank
we
you.
appreciate the opportunity to comment.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. It was a heck of a season with the limited capacity. So hopefully we're moving forward to greener pastures. And I think, certainly we need to be able to accommodate, the demand for the beach, and certainly adding more parking is going to help in that, going in that direction.
Yeah. Well, we're both right across the street year round, so whatever we can do to help you out, Nate, if there's ever a situation where, we can help you, we're here, so.
How many
Likewise.
spaces can we fit in your front yard?
We actually, at one point, we put the kids' wagon in to block the yard, and somebody actually pulled up and was putting the wagon in the back of their car,
Yeah,
thinking
Oh.
that we were getting rid of the wagon.
thinking we were taking the wagon away. So we're going down to the beach with
No,
that
no,
wagon.
we were just blocking that driveway.
Wow,
But anyway,
it's an adventure.
Interesting.
All right. Well, we got Mr. Shoemaker's ready for a question.
Go ahead.
so
Thanks
Thank
for all
you,
your
thank
hard
you.
work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Feel free to raise your hand again. Hank, you're on.
Yeah, just one general question, having lived here a long time, is why are we paving the parking lot? Environmentally, it's not going to be used that often, and putting a impervious surface over is not in the best interest of the town and the environmental aspect of things. I think we're building a parking lot here that's probably used less than 10 times a year now for the overflow, if that. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we'll probably get another 10 years or so out of the existing parking lot. So I'm wondering why we're rushing so. And is it only because we have a grant and we want to use the money? Because we're still talking about $4 million to pave a piece of land that's already pretty flat that you've been parking on for probably 50 years. So my question is, why do we have to pave the parking lot?
Good question. So, bear in mind, we are, planning for the future. Yeah, well, first of all, the negative piece about paving, obviously, is an impervious area and you're increasing runoff and everything else, right? So, but in this particular design, we're infiltrating everything. So everything that hits that pavement is going to be infiltrated into the ground. It's not like it's going to run off and go somewhere. So we're trying to make up the difference there. We are planning for the future. I think we all realize the reality is, however many decades or whatever down the road, this will be the only parking lot that'll be left for Nauset Beach. And so it'll be used, what it's like down there now, it'll be used virtually every day. I don't know if there's a rush per se. It's not because there's a grant. I think we're just trying to do good planning. We did lose 250 parking spaces down below. This will be a little less than that. So there's also a revenue issue. We'll be able to fill this thing. If we structure it and pave it, we'll be able to fill it fairly regularly. And that's not all the time, as often as the other parking lot would have filled up. And the other thing is just like wear and tear. If we leave the field, if we use the field more aggressively, it will deteriorate. It'll get muddy and people will get stuck and it won't be a pleasant experience. So we're really just kind of planning for the future. That's all.
Okay, well, I just think that it's kind of rushing it, and we haven't lost any of the beach this year, and certainly I think things are eventually in 50 years from now we'll have to be up there. But we had the town meeting down in the beach. We already have the facilities, the restrooms. I used them during the town meeting. Why do we have to have more porta-johns when we already have an existing admin building with that works? And then we could put more parking places. We're taking up an inordinate amount of parking places for picnic tables and things. And most people go back and eat at the beach during a normal year. Now, this year wasn't normal. So I just think we're pushing when we have so many other things in town that are more important and big capital projects that we're talking about. And when you throw something like this in front of people, they said, who is it really for? We're a rural town. We don't need to make a fancy parking lot, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people feel the same way, unless we're just saying, well, oh, it's free money. We have a grant. So I'd like to know a little bit more about whether that's the motivation right now.
Nate's got his hand up.
Nate, my good man.
Good to see you, Hank.
Yeah, nice to see you. I don't walk down there very much anymore in my old age, but I hope to be able to drive down there when I'm in my 80s now. So
Yeah, it's been a different world lately.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate what Tom said, it's our responsibility to plan based on the information that's being brought forward. This grant is essentially to design this parking lot. I mean, we're not deciding tonight or anytime soon whether to move forward to construct it, but the reality is, and today would have been a good example of the unknown with this nor'easter that just snuck up. It was a one-day nor'easter, but that admin building, we were seriously having the conversation today about, is it the time to take that admin building away? I mean, and by essentially whether it's safe or not and for the public any longer. Once we remove that admin building, and it could be this winter with another couple, a 3-day nor'easter, that'll be the end of that building. There go the public restrooms and proper restrooms at Nauset Beach. And I think that's going to be the catalyst to build momentum to seek out something more permanent. Porta potties, porta johns down at Nauset Beach can't handle the demand from the public. So we need to have a design in place so that we can take action as soon as possible when the town wants to do that. We do not want to be caught off guard and have it be perceived that we didn't see this coming. We see it coming, and we don't want anything fancy. And I hear everything you're saying. I think that we took advantage of the grant, absolutely, to design this parking lot and the grant covers a substantial amount of that design. Why wouldn't we take advantage of it and get a design in hand for that day?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. No, that's good. I enjoy the camera down there, but today it was kind of covered up with salt spray. So I don't know who takes care of that, but that's a great thing for the town to have, to look at the beach. Then you can see during the pandemic of how crowded it is, and you can go down there when it's not so crowded. So just keep the cameras rolling. Thanks very much.
We'll try. Thank you, Hank.
Yeah.
You take care of yourself. Anyone else there have any comment? We have Bob B. Mia, you want to bring in Bob B? Bob, when you're ready, just unmute.
Thank you, appreciate it. I agree with a lot of things that Mrs. Schumacher just said, that I hope we aren't rushing this to the point where it's going to cost us money that we don't need to spend. One of the things I wanted to know was, what is the capacity of the lower parking lot now? Is it 1,000 cars?
No, it's not. We lost 250 when we, so my understanding is, Nate threw out a number earlier, I don't want to disagree with him, but I was always told if we jammed the parking lot down below, it used to be 900 cars. If we
Okay,
jammed
so
it,
let's make
but
it.
we lost 250.
Okay,
So it's definitely, but that's if we jam it, generally speaking, I forget what we had a town meeting, 400, something like that cars.
so how many cars can we now park on the Eubler property as it exists?
Nate, what would you guess? How many you think we could put in with the you have to unmute, with the non-structured parking?
220 absolutely stacked. If you have someone up there, filling every nook and cranny and managing it.
And in the present design, what is the number of parking spaces that are in the present design?
You have that, Dan?
Yeah, we're at 263,
263. So
correct.
So we're getting 43 more spaces, save the wear and tear. You were talking about wear and tear, and I think there's a good argument for that, that if you start driving cars over that, it's going to need some maintenance and or different surface. But so we're really only going to get 43 additional spaces from what's there.
I just, not to correct you, it's putting back spaces that we already lost, but yes, that's,
On this,
oh, I know you're saying from the grass to the pavement. Okay, I got you.
right. So on this particular piece of property, we're only
Mhm.
gaining 43 spaces.
Mhm.
And we're going to spend I had some slides I made up here.
Oh, 4 million.
Phase two is actually in the capital plan at $5.6 million. And
I think that included the buildings. I'm pretty
okay,
sure.
well, that's all right. It's still in there. And you're
Yep.
looking at
Yep.
perhaps, according to the newspaper this week, using up $4 million worth of this, between 2 and 4 million.
Mhm.
And I think that the size and scope of the project is maybe more than we need at this time. I do agree that if we have a grant that would cover 75% of the design cost, that's a great deal to take advantage of it now. But for us as a town to jump into spending the 4 million or whatever it is at this point in time, I think is rushing it. And it would be my preference. It would be my preference to see maybe something less done up top, to take some of the buildings that are not being used down below and bring them up top and make them places where people could check into the beach. And maybe just re-examine the phase two before we jump into it. That's what I don't want to see, is us spending, $4 million right now, just because we're sort of forced or faced with the funding by a grant. And
So, thank you, Bob. Your comments and Hank's are well taken. The grant was an opportunity for design. You
Right.
don't have. I mean, yes, we can and will apply for a grant again in June. Really, at this point, the process. So the project itself has been on the CIP and on the radar, basically, just say since 2018.
Right.
And it is coming up for this year based upon the planning. But ultimately, it's actually up to the select board to decide whether or not to even put it on, to put it on the warrant or not. They may not,
Mhm.
so we'll see where that goes. Then ultimately, it's up to town meeting if they think it's time or not to fund the project.
So in the CIP now is the 5.6 for the beach, we'll call it, and 400 for the Eubler Road. That's a total of $6 million. It's in the capital plan right now. And
I'm not looking at it, but I'll take your word for it. And
it's
so this
true. I
four-
looked at it just the other day.
Sure. So
So,
this is 4 million, which includes the Eubler Lane in it.
Includes the Eubler Lane.
Yeah,
So
the
you're going to
4
use,
million would be for the parking lot, as you see that I showed you, plus
Right.
Eubler Lane going down the hill.
so you're going to spend 3.6 on a parking lot and 400 on
actually.
Eubler Lane or something like that.
Right. We have to fine tune the numbers, but those are the current estimates.
You had mentioned possibly that someone was going to give us a grant for part of this construction. What kind of people give those grants, and what are chances of getting them?
So we would probably look back again to Coastal Zone Management, which is a state department. And because this project, I'm trying to remember because we're, retreating away from the beach, Dan, what's the right word for this grant? It's sustainability or what's the-
Sustainability, correct.
It's a sustainability grant. So we would go back to people who gave the grant for design, would go back to them for a grant for construction. And I think the odds would be pretty good. They've already funded the design. So we'll see. No guarantee though.
Resiliency, Tom.
Yeah,
Resiliency.
community resilience grant. That's right.
Coastal resiliency.
Yeah.
So it's your hope then that this grant would come through at the same level of funding as the grant came through for the design phase, and that you might expect that someone else would pick up 75% of the cost of our construction for the new parking lot?
We're not anticipating 75%. We would hope for 1 to 2 million. That would be probably about the maximum we'd get.
Okay, so 25
To
to
50.
50%.
If we were lucky, yes.
And for other people who have applied for these types of grants, what has been their success and the rate at which they might get the grants relative to what the cost of the project is?
It's a bit out of my area of expertise. Do you have any insight, or do you?
Those are great questions. And I guess I don't have that information right in front of me. But obviously, these are competitive grants.
Yes.
And to be totally honest, the town is looking in a strong favor only because they were awarded the design grant. So that's favorable. And also, as Nate suggested, the resiliency part of it, the studies that the town has done, all lines up in favor for at least some award of the grant.
Well, I'll let somebody else on, but again, thanks for all the work down there, putting the dunes back together and getting a nice place for people to have a picnic. I think I would encourage you to make sure that there's always John's down there, because I think guys are not going to go up to the top, and we're going to find some people in the dunes doing their business. But thank you,
So
Ray.
noted. Thank you, sir. I have I don't have anyone raising their hand, but I have a couple of people who want to chat. All right, I had something from Sharon, but we got that. Anyone else out there? Hold on one second. I think that's it for chatting. We do have Pamela Hare again. Close that. Pamela, did you raise your hand? You're back. Please unmute.
Mute. There. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yeah, we
Hi.
got you.
So I just want to agree so that there's 75% consensus that I hope that this doesn't need to happen right away, because I also feel like it's, you know, it's a little early for this. And I know that you have gone through this and have been, you know, working very hard to keep this all together. So I don't want to, you know, be negative about it, but I also agree that, you know, if there could be an interim where there could be the paver, just put down like those honeycomb pavers or some kind of interim plan rather than all out, so that it doesn't become a muddy mess, but, you know, it also is not, I mean, I guess my question is, what is the surface that will go down there?
According to this plan, it will be paved with berms. There'll be an
What-
asphalt parking lot.
Asphalt. Well, is there a way that it could be, you know, like I said, the honeycomb pavers where the grass grows up between the concrete pattern, just so that it not only visually looks better, but it also is, you know, not an overwhelming black ground taking over
So-
that area.
I remember in the past, sometime in the last few years, talking about this parking lot, we did talk about that as a concept. And I think one of the issues, and I'm just saying, I mean, I think it's a great, I thought it was kind of a good idea. We talked about it, you know? But I think that it adds, and I was trying to save money on stormwater mitigation. You know, if you have that, you can do less, you know, hard stormwater infrastructure. But I think the cost goes up quite a bit. Dan, does that ring a bell with you at all or not? Or,
Yeah, I think the labor installation would
right.
escalate, certainly. I don't have those numbers in front of me, but yeah,
Right.
it's a trade-off that the town would have to consider.
I
Certainly.
think
Right.
ultimately it was significantly more expensive to do that option. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
trade-off with the stormwater wasn't equal. So, you know, and money is money, you know? And so we were looking at, we're trying to make the project as reasonably priced as possible, but the comment does
Right.
not go unheard, that's for sure.
Well, I certainly, when the town bought the property, we were looking at having condos there. So, and I've been saying since then, I'm happy to look at a parking lot. I got no problem with the parking lot. It would be nice if it could be as natural surface as possible and not, you know, white lines on a black surface. That's all. And also one other thing, as a parent, I just want to say, whatever you're thinking of for porta potties, for moving, mothers with little children can't walk all the way up to the Hubler property. You just can't do it when you got 2 or 3 little kids and they got sand in their butts and they're uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
so you've just got to really keep in mind the family issues of you know, porta potties and rest
We are,
stations.
Nate might want to jump in, but we are very, you know, Nate beats that drum hard. He beats me hard with
Good.
that one.
Well,
You know,
he's
it's
a
a
good guy.
family,
I
it's a
appreciate
family
that.
day, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
initially, some of the options we presented to the Board of Selectmen back in 18 were those buildings down below, you know, restrooms down below, and actually pumping up to that septic system that we're building in this upper parking lot. You know, we're building the septic system for that option. Well, for a number of options, but that would be one
Right.
of them. So we could build buildings down below until it gets to the point where there's nothing left and we
Yeah,
have to
right.
move. You know, at that
Right.
point, it's a
Of
short walk
course.
down the hill.
Right,
But
yes.
but it adds like $1 million to the job. It wasn't cheap, but we're
Uh-huh.
aware of it. Again, we're talking parking lot here and future. We could build buildings down below now if the town wanted to and move them up later. It's definitely an option. Nate, did you want to add to that?
Just to the fact that I want everyone to realize that we are trying to be as fiscally responsible as possible. And that's one of the reasons why we understand how dynamic of the situation we're in and how unknown the future is. And that's why we propose to operate out of essentially 10 by 10 sheds for as long as we can down there. And
No,
we
I
understand,
yeah.
you know, we're holding on to you know, it's that administration building is, future is not long to be, you know, taken down. So I don't foresee us retreating all the way up the hill for a while, hopefully not for a while. And I'm willing to operate out of sheds to keep the cost down. But the day will come where we need to move all the facilities up top. And it's my opinion that let's build that parking lot once and build it right. and plan accordingly so that we're not building it twice and tearing it up to put septic systems in and to build it proper, you know, and spend that much more money for the town. And I think that's crucial to, and I have to give Tom Daly a lot of credit in Ty and Bond. That's essentially what we've done. And it's taken years from day one that we lost the original dune. So I have a lot of faith that we're getting this right. And it doesn't mean we have to build it tomorrow, but let's design it right.
No, I agree. I support you. I'm fine. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else out there with raised hands interested in a comment? I don't see anyone. All right, any of the panelists want to add anything else? Are we good for this evening? I think we're
think we're
okay. I'll throw out, I should have put it on a slide and I didn't. Actually, I can do it this way. Hold on, bear with me one second. I think people should be able to reach us. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. And what I'm going to do, you can see my screen, right? Guys?
Yep.
So everyone out there in the world, if you want to get in touch with us and comment any further, just write down this email. Make sure I'm spelling it right. All right, that's my email, tdaly@town.orleans.ma.us. Doesn't get any easier than that. You guys got any more comments or whatever you got, feel free to reach out to me and I'll share that with the design team and Nate. All right?
That's absolutely. And if anyone wants to call me personally, they call me at the office at 508-240-3755.
All right, I think we're good. Thank you all for joining us. It's always a pleasure. Ty and Bond, Dan and Tim and Nate, thank you very much. Mia, thanks for hosting us. And I guess you can shut us off, Mia.
All right, have
job.
a good night.